friends. Welcome to the Creative Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Caldwell, and I'm so happy you're here. Each episode, I take some time to chat with fellow artists about life, faith, and the impact of the arts.
There is so much rest we can find in surrendering to the Lord and trusting Him. And it's not always easy, especially for a control freak like me. I'm like, I really want to have my 5-year plan and I want to do all these things. And
yes,
but as we surrender to Him, He blesses that and He makes the path clear.
You're listening to episode 49, and I am so excited to introduce you to my friend Bethany Sleebos. Today, she joins me on the podcast to talk about her journey as a dancer, a studio owner, and how she's seen God be faithful every step of the way. Bethany lives in College Station, Texas, with her husband Patrick and their 3 beautiful kids. Together, they own Suzanne School of Dance and desire to create a safe place for dancers to grow in both excellence of dance and heart. Bethany shares about her journey and how she's come full circle back to her home studio, Suzanne School of Dance, where she first began her training at 5 years old. Through her time there, she learned to use her gift for the Lord and realized her passion to share that gift of dance with others. At the age of 15, which is seriously impressive, Bethany moved to Houston, Texas, where she danced with Ad Deum Dance Company. Following her time at Ad Deum, Bethany used Dance for Missions, which led her to start a school and company in the Netherlands under Youth with a Mission. While she was in the Netherlands, she met her husband, Patrick. In 2013, they moved back to Texas and purchased Suzanne School of Dance. In addition to owning the studio, Bethany also dances with Mako Dance Company and directs Talitha Dance Company. We chat about the challenges and blessings of owning a studio, especially during the pandemic. We also talk about honoring our mentors, the realities of transitioning out of a performance career, and so much more. Bethany brings beautiful heart and wisdom as she shares what we can gain by surrendering to God and laying things down. I love her encouragement that when God shuts a door, it's because He has something better in store. Enjoy my conversation with Bethany Sleebos. Bethany, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. I feel so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm super excited to catch up and actually just get to know you better, like a little more in depth, because I feel like I know you, but not all of your history and everything, you know?
Yes. No, I feel the same. Our paths have definitely crossed and we have so many connections. I'm like, wow, it's so cool through Ad Deum.
And Ben was even saying that y'all were in Guatemala together.
Yes, we were with Arrows. That's right.
It was like we were all sick and
yes,
survived.
I know. Fun times. It was such a cool trip, though. I think about that trip often and all that God did. It was so awesome.
That's so cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to get to hear more. And first off, do you want to just kind of share a little bit about yourself and kind of what you're up to right now?
Yes, I would love to. So I am Bethany Sleebos, and I grew up in College Station, Texas, and I currently live here as well. And I'm married to Patrick. He's my amazing husband. And
Yay, Patrick.
I know, he's amazing. And he's from the Netherlands, actually. And so, but we live here now, and we have 3 beautiful kids. Jaden is 6, Josiah is 4, and little Jocelyn is 16 months. So I have 2 boys and a girl. Yeah, they are so precious. I love them so much. And I have the privilege of getting to run and own my dance studio with Patrick. So it's super fun. We're both married and doing life together and working together. And I'm so grateful for him. I couldn't do it without him, but we own a dance studio together, and this is our 8th year. We're finishing up our 8th year, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's hard to even like wrap my brain around because it feels like a year or two ago or something.
It does.
Time
I
has
know.
flown.
It goes by so fast. But we've been owning it for 8 years. And
Awesome.
so I get to do that. I love that. I also have the privilege of getting to run a dance company, a project company called Talitha. And so I direct that. It's super fun. And we get to dance at a conference for women called the UR Conference. And then I also get to dance with Mako, which I love.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
We had Maggie on the show like end of 2020, I want to say.
Yes, I
Yeah.
saw that. So awesome.
Yeah.
She's amazing, and it's such, just a blessing to get to dance again and get to be under her. She's so great.
Yeah,
So
that's so cool. Well, it'll be fun to dive in a little bit more to each of those like elements in a little bit. Yeah, but do you want to kind of share just how you got into dance in the first place?
sure, I would love to. So, like I said, I grew up in College Station, Texas, and grew up in this wonderful family, Christian family, and my mom enrolled me in dance at the age of 5
Yeah.
and at Suzanne School of Dance, actually. So that's where I started.
Super
It
cool.
was so neat. And I had my first class with Suzanne Moreau, and she was so amazing, really just instilled that love of dance in me.
Mhm.
And I mean, I remember at the age of 5 going, this is what I'm called to do. And I knew that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life was dance
Wow.
and teach dance.
That's
So
so fun that like 5 years old, you're like, this is it.
yes, I just knew from that age. I have these memories being like, this is what I want to do, and I want to be like her someday and teach dance.
Aww.
And so I danced at Suzanne's for many years and trained in so many different genres, and also learned how my gift of dance could be used in worship for the Lord.
Yeah.
I feel so blessed that I was able to grow up in that Christian environment and from a young age learn that it's first and foremost for the Lord. And
Yeah.
so I danced there for many years. And when I was 15, actually, I, well, it had been a dream of mine to dance professionally. And I thought, well, that's like way down the road. And,
Right. Yeah.
like, we'll just see. But my dad actually encouraged me to do a lot of different auditions. And so I was actually at Project Dance New York, and my dad was like, hey, you should just audition just to get the practice, right? Because
Mhm.
you have to practice that. And it's different than just taking a normal class. And so I was like, okay, I'll audition. And I loved Ad Deum and
Mhm.
had like seen them and looked up to all their company members and gone to their intensives every summer growing up. And so I auditioned, and I actually made it into the company, and I did not expect that. It was like a
Wow.
huge surprise, and definitely something that my parents and I prayed about because I was 15 years old. And my parents are actually super protective. It's hard to imagine that because they let me move to Houston at 15.
Yeah.
but you know, but they are, and they just really had a peace about it, and so did I. And so I moved to Houston at 15, and I mean, we don't have time to get into all of it, but the Lord just like provided in crazy,
Yeah.
amazing ways, even a family for me to live with. And
Aw.
just, they were incredible. And so I got to just live my dream to dance with Ad Deum. And so I started in their trainee program and got to be under Kathleen. She's
Yeah.
amazing. And Randy. And so I just had the opportunity to learn from so many different incredible teachers and
Mhm.
learn choreography from these amazing choreographers from all over. And so
Yeah.
yeah, so that was amazing. I was with Ad Deum for 5 years,
Okay, cool.
and it kind of feels like a lifetime ago.
I bet. Yeah. So
'Cause
much has happened
so much has
since
happened.
then. Yeah.
And but it was such an amazing experience and just a dream come true for me. And
Mhm.
so that was for 5 years. And I just remember kind of towards the end of my time there, the Lord just started preparing my heart to transition. And I just remember just feeling like, man, I really want to like share this gift that I've been given through
Mm.
teaching and
Mhm.
choreographing and also when I was younger, just so many people had prayed over me and said, Bethany, we really feel like you're called to do missions. And so I've always had a heart for missions and had gone on some like even dance missions trips and different things. But towards the end of my time at Ad Deum, I just felt that rising up in me of like, man, I really want to use this gift, and just felt like the Lord was saying it was time to lay Ad Deum down, which was also hard because it's what I knew and I loved every bit of it. And just, I didn't know if I was ready to give it up, but I just talked with Randy. I was like, I just feel like the Lord is saying it's time. And so anyways, I laid it down, and actually laid it down before I knew exactly what I was going to do. I just felt like the Lord said, I want you to lay it down and trust me. And so I did. And sometimes I think he asked us to do that. But as you've seen too in your life, when the Lord asks us to surrender things, he always blesses us and, above and beyond what we can imagine. And if he asks us to lay down a good thing, it's because he has another good thing he wants to give us. And it was just a different season. And so I laid that down, and then it was so neat because within just a couple weeks, all of a sudden the Lord just started putting things in place, and I started getting phone calls from different people to come and minister in Costa Rica and go to Guatemala on this trip and go, and also, but in that time too, as I was trying to figure out what to do, I did audition for a company in New York and really thought maybe that's what the Lord would have for me. But it's so interesting. The Lord clearly shut that door. And at the time I was like, Lord, just, really wrestling with him. Like, why would you shut this? But again, like when he closes a door, it's because he has something better. And now, it's like now looking back, I'm like, Lord, you knew what would follow. And I'm so glad I wouldn't change that for anything. So he just shut that door to New York, but then he opened up doors all over. And actually a fun thing too, is he still let me go to New York and perform for a little bit with a different company.
Cool.
And so it's just so sweet how God, he just knows the desires of our hearts. And I think he just gives it to us in different ways and different seasons. And it might look a little different than what we originally think.
Right. Or not like in the timing that we think, or
Yes. But it's like, it's always so much better, than we could imagine. And so he shut the door to New York, but opened up all these different opportunities. And so I got to travel, I think it was like to 7 different countries within a 7 or 8 months. It was like crazy when I look back.
Your body was probably like, what's happening? But so cool too.
It was so neat. So neat. But, to actually back up, I was dancing at Ad Deum, and actually during my time at Ad Deum, for a few summers, I had gone and had the opportunity to teach in the Netherlands for King's Kids, which is under Youth with a Mission. I don't know if you've heard of them, but
I have. Yeah.
So they're an amazing missions organization all over the world. And I'd always loved missions. And I remember talking to Randy because the Lord clearly shut a door for me to go to New York. I really thought I was supposed to go to New York for a summer, and the Lord just shut that door. And I was devastated at the time and called Randy, and he was like, Bethany, I really feel like the Lord might have something different for you. And I would love for you to consider going to the Netherlands and teaching dance to kids and teenagers that would then take it and use it to share the gospel. And when he shared that with me, I was like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I'd always loved missions and felt like I would be called to it and get to do it at some point, but didn't know exactly when that would be. And so as I was finishing up my time at Ad Deum, I would go and spend a few weeks in the summer teaching King's Kids these dances, and got to go on missions trips myself, and loved it. And I also saw that there was just this need for a Christian dance like studio and company where, these teenagers could come and learn this gift, like art of dance, and really train in it because they had the heart and the passion, but not a lot of experience and training opportunity.
That makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. And so it was just stirring in my heart of like, man, I would love to be able to go and do more. And the Lord was showing me like, hey, I want you to start something, but just not yet. And so in the right season, right? Like sometimes he'll show us these things and we have these visions and dreams and we'll journal them and then surrender them back to the Lord and say, God, just in your timing, like whatever you want to do. And I love how then he makes it happen, right? Like in his timing, and it doesn't always look the way we think it will, but it's so much better. His plans are so much better.
Yeah.
So I was like, teaching in the summers and still dancing with Ad Deum. And then the Lord just really showed me that he wanted me to lay down Ad Deum. And it was what I knew and I loved it. It had been my dream and I had done it for 5 years. And it was just such an incredible season in my life. But I just felt like the Lord was saying it was time also for me to give back what I had learned and just pour out.
Yeah.
So I went to Randy and shared with him. I just really feel like the Lord is saying that it's time for me to quit. And this is so hard and sad. And he was so sweet and just blessed it. But then I laid it down, not knowing what the Lord would open up, but knowing that there was just this desire for missions stirring in my heart. And so I laid it down. And sometimes I feel like God asks us to do that, right? It's like, okay, you lay it down. I'm not going to show you yet what's about to happen, but you can trust me that every time you surrender, I'm always going to bless you and exceed your expectations,
Yeah, that kind of faith element of like, the trust, like you said, trusting he'll meet us there. Yeah. And that he'll provide.
Yes. So I laid it down. And then within a couple weeks, I started getting phone calls and opportunities to go travel and went to it was 7 different countries in 8 months. And it was incredible. It was so sweet. And I loved it. And during that time, the Lord opened up the doors for me to get to actually go to the Netherlands and start a dance school and company. And so
that's so cool. So incredible.
It was so neat. It was such a fun just opportunity and so sweet that the Lord had shown me a couple years in advance and been preparing my heart and then to see him do it. And so we got to start this dance school and company and got to teach all over the Netherlands. And it was just amazing what God did. And so incredible. But during that time is when I met my husband, Patrick. And so we had actually met on some of the mission trips before then, and we're kind of friends, but didn't really know each other. But then when I moved there, God made it very clear that he was my husband. And I'm so thankful. I didn't know that I would marry a Dutchie, but the Lord knows best, right?
Right. That's so sweet. So was he working with YWAM as well?
Yes, he was working with King's Kids as well.
Yeah.
But just in a different part. He actually was in some of my dances. Not many people know that. So he can dance a little bit. But
nice.
Yes. But he was focused on other parts. And we got to serve together in some ways. And then I got to do the dance studio and dance company part. And he was so supportive. And so we lived there for a couple years and got to do that. And it was amazing. And then the Lord just made very clear that it was time to lay that down. And it's hard when you've put a lot of sweat and tears and time and just energy into something, and you've poured yourself wholeheartedly into it. And then the Lord asked you to lay it down. And so he did. And I'm so grateful that he did. But before we moved back to the States, we were like, okay, God, we feel like, you're calling us to the States, but you're going to have to make it clear what you want us to do and what that's going to look like. And so we just sat on it for a while and prayed on it. And actually, I contacted Suzanne because when I was 10 years old, she was like telling me from the time I was 10 that she wanted me to take over her dance studio.
Aww, so that's so sweet.
It is so sweet. But, I didn't know if that would really happen or who I would marry at the time and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lord just reminded me of that. And so I called her and shared that. And she said, Bethany, this is so crazy. But just like 2 months ago, the Lord showed me it was time for me to lay down my studio.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, only God, and I, for myself, I needed him to make it abundantly clear that we are supposed to move and the timing and all of that. And so
yeah, for sure. That's a big step.
Like it is.
International move. That's a lot.
So. International move. Yes. Yeah. And we had lived there for a couple years and it had been amazing, but the Lord just made it clear. And so we ended up moving back to College Station, Texas in 2013. And that's when we purchased the studio. We literally came with 3 suitcases. We sold everything. We had been doing missions and really had I think Pat and I joke, we're like, I think we had maybe like a penny. Like we had hardly anything, money-wise left. We just sold it all and moved and took that leap of faith and bought the studio. And it's been such an amazing journey, even the last 8 years, just looking at how the Lord has provided and all that he's done. And now with 3 kids but I'm so grateful. And looking back, I can just see how the Lord just has just led us step by step and provided. And he's just been there. He's so trustworthy and knows what's best for us in our lives.
Yeah, for sure. That's so cool. And yeah, I love when you can see like God's fingerprints all over it and the different things that line up and like, okay, that really could not have been me trying to plan this, So
totally.
That's awesome. Yeah. So really this is like threaded throughout the whole story, but how do you feel like your journey with dance has impacted your faith and just like your experience of dance and ministry, I guess?
Wow. Well, it definitely has impacted my faith and just how I view the Lord and how I view people and life. I think my relationship with the Lord is deeper because of it. And as a dancer, when I worship the Lord and get to dance, that's when I feel the closest to him. And I feel like he speaks to me. And that's the way that he speaks to me, I think, the most, for sure, in other ways as well. But as a dancer, that's when I feel his presence the most. And I think it's taught me through everything to learn to really trust him and that he is trustworthy. He's so trustworthy and he takes good care of us as his kids. And then I think, just doing getting to have these opportunities to go into even third world countries and minister and use dance. I've seen how I truly believe the Lord has created dance to bring healing and freedom and joy.
Yeah.
It's just broadened my perspective of life. And I'm so grateful for that experience. I think everyone should go on a mission trip because it's so eye-opening and
for sure,
and we can learn so much even from those other cultures and how God created them. So yes, it's been eye-opening and grown my faith exponentially.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible how dance can just like speak, even with language barriers and cultural barriers. And there are different cultural things with dance as well, but just like there's something about the emotion of it, kind of like music, I guess, that just kind of gets to the heart, to communicate. Totally. So
yeah, I've been really in so many countries. You're right. Where I've just man, I can't speak to them right now, But when I dance, like, and when other people have danced, it speaks to the soul and it crosses over any language barrier. I
Right.
love that about dance.
Yeah, it's so powerful. It's super, super cool. And I was thinking back, you were talking about worship do y'all call it Night of Worship or something like that, that you guys did with the
Yes.
studio? And that was super
Yes.
fun that I got to participate one year and just so
That's right.
powerful. Yeah, the ability to see, even the students from like the littlest ones all the way up to be able to just express themselves in worship through dance. I
Yes.
thought that was super beautiful because I grew up more in a secular studio, very ballet focused, and that was great too. But it's cool to see that experience happening and how powerful it can be for sure.
Thanks. Yes, I love that. That's so rewarding, to
Yeah.
get to see them worship. And I mean, that's my heart's desire is to help lead
Hmm.
people, into the presence of God and let them
Yeah.
experience that through dance and
Yeah, it's kind
worship.
of like a different form of being a worship leader, kind of.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Into movement worship. So that's really cool. Yeah. So you kind of shared about how you got started, taking over at Suzanne's. And I guess what have been some of the struggles, but all like challenges and also the blessings of owning a studio and kind of stepping into that role?
Yes. It has been truly a blessing to get to take over Suzanne's. And I remember the Lord, asking me to lay down my dancing and to get to pour into others. And I'm so grateful for that, to get to create a safe environment for dancers to learn and grow in the gift of dance,
Mhm.
how to use it in worship. But for sure, like going from dancing professionally and then owning my own studio, I don't think I quite knew what I was in for.
Yeah.
And, I think I love that God is so gracious that he doesn't show us all the challenges we're going to face, because I think if he did at the beginning, we'd be like, I'm just going to like turn around and run because
That
I
is
don't,
so true. Yes.
yes, because it's like, I don't know, Lord, if I can do this or I'm capable.
Hmm.
But I'm really grateful to run the studio. And for sure, there have been different struggles. I think the number one thing for me has been not putting my self-worth in being a studio owner, but that
Mm.
my worth and my value comes from being a daughter of God
Yeah.
and being his first. And for me, that's been a struggle, honestly, to not let that become my identity. It's a hat I get to wear, just like, I get to be a wife and a mom and all these things, but my identity is in Christ.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's for sure been a struggle for me. And
Mm.
then I also think, just realizing that I can't please everyone.
Oh, that's so hard.
And
I understand
as
that.
someone that tends to be a people pleaser, that has been a huge challenge for me because I do want everyone to love it. And, but I first and foremost am doing what I'm doing to please the Lord.
Mhm.
And I pray it blesses people.
Yeah.
And I really hope that people enjoy that and dancers learn and grow. But it's first and foremost for the Lord. And so, those are, I would say, the two biggest struggles for me, personally, kind of wrestling through with the Lord. And he's definitely growing me in those areas. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful for that. But, there have been so many blessings. I mean, so many blessings, just
Yeah.
even, especially the kids. I think
Yeah.
seeing these precious ones go through our programs, getting to watch them discover the gift of dance for the first time is really
Mhm.
sweet. And then growing and becoming more free in their movement and experiencing the joy of dance and also what it is to worship the Lord through dance. That is the most rewarding for sure.
Mhm.
Hands down
Yeah.
is watching them experience that and take that with them. I mean, we're teaching more than just great dancing. We are teaching even life skills, things that they're going to take with them for the rest of their lives.
For
And
sure. Yeah.
So you know that being a dance teacher.
Yes.
I mean, it is so much more. And so I love that. That is the most rewarding part.
And you said it's 8 years. So you've seen, kids that were like 10 graduating high school now.
Yes.
That's so cool. Yeah.
It is. It's so rewarding. I love that part
of
my job for
sure.
sure.
Because even for me working at a high school, just watching them from freshman year, just how much growth happens and their maturity over time. And, and I learned so much too. There's been a lot of like great lessons that come through teaching for sure.
Oh, yes. I think as the teacher, you learn more than the student,
exactly.
right?
Yes, for sure. Just thinking about like this past year and the pandemic, and I guess a little over a year now. It's been what, like April, May, so maybe 14 months or something.
Right.
Just of unknowns and, unexpected obstacles and things like that, and closures and all of that. What has that looked like for you with the studio? And personally too is fine, but especially as a leader and, studio owner.
For sure. I mean, what a year or the last 14 months have been, right? I think it has affected everyone all over, I mean, across the world. And for us in the dance industry, I mean, we've had all these different obstacles we've needed to overcome. But I heard someone say, who better than an artist to overcome, right? Like we're super creative and this is how God wired us. So they're like, the artist will survive this, you know?
Yes. We can adapt and like come up with new creative solutions.
We can, and we do, and we did, I feel like, as a dance community and industry. So for me, when it all started going down, to be honest, my husband and I looked at each other and we were like, all right, I don't even know if we'll have a business, And for us, it was just like, just walking in faith and surrendering to the Lord, going, okay, God, like more than ever, we realized our need for him. And I think more than ever, we are so grateful for what we get to do and what we're called to do. And, when it all went down, I just like everyone else, we were figuring out Zoom and how to dance on Zoom and connect and stay connected. And then we transitioned to like, okay, we can be in person, but there's all these different limitations. And so telling my teachers like, all right, sorry, you got to keep your dancers in their squares and everybody 10 plus needs to wear masks. And oh my goodness, all the things. And there were so many different obstacles like that. And just even being a leader, I think, for me going, okay, like, Lord, I need clarity moving forward and wisdom as a leader, because I have my staff following me, these studio families following me, and they were incredible. They were so supportive through everything. But just realizing, God, I need your wisdom. And he says, those that lack wisdom like to ask. And so many times we just asked the Lord and pulled on different, communities that we had for wisdom and mentors. I think just like everyone just going, okay, God. And for us with More Than Just Great Dancing, that was super helpful to have that community of studio owners to bounce off ideas.
Yeah. Is that like a network of studios that?
It is. Okay. It is. It's run by Misty Lown. And she's amazing and she's incredible and leads like this group of so many different studio owners, and it's amazing and has been such a great resource for us. And I really think has helped us survive this COVID season, honestly.
But, it's good to have that support system and people to reach out to and be like, okay, we're not alone, and get good tips and stuff like that.
Yes. So we definitely found that in More Than Just Great Dancing for sure. And in the Lord and in our mentors. And, I've also seen through the pandemic that there have been good things that have come from it, like we've learned how to set up these tech systems in our rooms, and our teachers have learned to teach on Zoom and in person. And so I feel like it's opened up new opportunities for us as well. It kind of forced us to figure this out.
Exactly.
He's super creative. And so we did that. We had tech stations, we had kids in person, kids on Zoom, But it was such a challenge, I think, to keep them engaged, over Zoom and to help our dancers to connect, even though they have these masks on, and to remind them to express and to dance with those limitations. But they did it, and they did it so well. It's been hard, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like we're coming out of that. Thank the Lord. And we will never take for granted, like getting to just be without masks or get to partner in class or things like that we're so used to, or to do our normal shows. I mean, even for us this year, I'm sure like so many studio owners, we just had to rethink everything and reimagine what our recitals could look like. And so for us, we are very fortunate to be able to do it in a theater with physical distancing and just to have a bunch of smaller shows. So we're running like 11 shows. And then in a few weeks, we will have all our recitals.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's exciting to have more of the quote normal, I guess, whatever normal is, but what we were used to, a bit more of that feel. Yes. That's kind of what we did. Typically, we have 2 shows, but this year we did 3. We were in a different space because they're renovating our auditorium. So we were in the gym and we borrowed curtains and rented lights and, tried to make it as special as possible and added that 3rd show to try to allow more people in with social distancing and everything. But yeah, it was very cool. They were able to take their masks off while they were performing. And literally, I mean, it's one of the first times I've seen some of their faces all year,
I know, right? How strange is that?
I was like, this is so nice to see them and see their smiles. But then it was also weird for them, because you kind of get used to that. Almost like, I don't even know, like a safety net kind of, or there's something there. And so, for them to express, like you said, it's hard to remember to do that when you're in a mask. So it was kind of like a new learning curve there with the performance.
Yes, I know. I think I've missed that part the most over the last year, is just getting to see their sweet smiles and just touch and hugs and, things that we need as human beings. So important. And so, yes, we will not take it for granted from here on out, I pray. So.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And that's the sweet thing, I think, with even, some of the younger students. It's like, I think they realize that too. And they are just really super full of gratitude when they get to do anything. So that's been really sweet.
Yes, for sure. I know, seeing our dancers, we got to do an outside performance night of worship. And that was, and we did a Christmas show too, and with lots of different restrictions. But when we got to see their masks come down, I mean, they were just glowing. I mean, smiling from ear to ear. I think they just couldn't wait to just express their hearts again in that way, and for that to get across.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it's been a journey for sure. We're getting there. Yeah, we're figuring it out. So definitely.
We're doing it.
Yeah, pretty cool. Well, I'd love to kind of move into sort of the teaching mentorship side, which definitely was a lot of already kind of our conversation with studio ownership. But would you want to share some of your most rewarding moments as a teacher that you've seen over the years?
Yes. So I was thinking, I think for me as a teacher, and you can probably relate, when you get those dancers in your classroom that are super timid, that are afraid to try something, you want them just to go for it. You're like, come on, just let go and be free. And so I think for me, over the last so many years of teaching, I've taught for a long time, but I think for me, that has been the most rewarding when I see dancers come in, and when all of a sudden they experience that freedom and that joy, and they just go for it, and I really feel like that's in little kids naturally, for the most part, that they're like, okay, we're just going to go for it. And some of my teenagers, just be so self-conscious at the beginning and hold back, and then just to be able to encourage them to go for it, and that it's okay to fall or to mess up, but to just have that they would have no regrets in just going for it and seeing, actually their full potential, because when they're holding back, they can't really see all that's in them and what they can reach technically and in so many different ways. And so I love that. That has been for sure one of the most rewarding parts of teaching. And then I also think for me, just thinking back even to Night of Worship, I got to hear so many of our dancers share their testimonies, which is
Cool.
new that we hadn't done before. And that was really sweet for me because I heard from them and their sweet little voices, their hearts. And I got to hear that, yes, like it's clicking. We say at our studio that our desire is to teach excellence of dance and heart.
Oh, yeah.
We're a Christian studio. And so we want both, like the excellence in dance and in heart, the heart. And when I got to hear those sweet dancers share their little testimonies, oh, it just meant the world. I was like, this is so sweet. And this makes it all worth it, because they were sharing about how they found community, even in this pandemic, like in their friendships within their dance class and their dance companies, and how much life and joy it brought them, and how many of them are walking through even difficult things with family members being ill, and how dance was their escape and how it allowed them to express their emotions and to release that, and I think
Yeah.
that's one reason I love dance, and probably you too, because it
Yeah.
to have that safe place to release what's inside. I mean, sometimes we don't even have the words to express what's going on in our hearts. And it is so therapeutic to be able to dance it out. And so, yeah, those are a couple of things I love.
That's so good. Yeah. And it's true. It's, yeah, that being able to just kind of let it go and, like you said, express what's inside that sometimes we don't know what to say. Especially for kids and even, teenagers, they're processing through so much and, growing so much. And with little kids, they may not know how to express if they're sad or, angry or happy or whatever. So it's like, being able to just to move. And I feel like it comes through that for sure. So that's really cool. And I was thinking about your just kind of the legacy with Suzanne. And do you know when she started the studio?
Yes. So 29 years ago.
Wow. That's incredible. So 30 years next year?
Yes.
Wow.
It's been going on for a long time. Yeah. I'm so honored and blessed to get to carry that legacy forward.
Yeah. And kind of the sort of generational thing that's happening now is really, that's so beautiful. And I would imagine like she seems like kind of a mentor type figure, especially for your life and probably a lot of the students that have come through the studio. Do you want to share like any thoughts on mentorship, either from your experience of it, having people above you, or, even looking towards your students and people that you're able to pour into now?
Yes. Well, I love mentorship, and I am so grateful to have had amazing mentors in my life. Suzanne, for sure, is one of them.
Yeah.
She's so amazing and has kind of been like another mom to me, my dancing mom. And she really has poured so much into me. And I can't even imagine owning the studio without having that person to go to. I mean, for sure we have the Lord and I have my spouse, but to have someone that knows exactly like what you're experiencing and has walked that road before, oh my goodness, like is so valuable and so worth honoring too. Like I just think it's so important for us as, a younger generation carrying on some of these legacies and taking the torch and running forward, that just to get to honor what they've done, because we really get to stand on their shoulders.
Right.
And I wouldn't be in the position I'm in if it weren't for her going before me. And so, yes, I truly value that and think it's important that we honor our mentors, and just am so grateful to learn from her so that I can keep moving forward with it. And I've experienced that, at Suzanne's and even at Ad Deum and different seasons of my life through different, amazing people like Randy and just so many incredible mentors. I count myself very blessed to just know them and I just want to soak up all I can from what they say, and just like take it all in. But I also love too that there's a place, and Suzanne says this too. She's like, this is what I would advise you to do, but also like it's time for you to make that decision, and just to have that freedom as well is really beautiful, because there are things like you have to walk through to learn it. And we are still, even though I would love to be like, okay, like I'm going to soak up all I can and not make any mistakes. Like that's just,
now I've got it all figured out. Exactly.
It's like, that's not real life. We are going to make our own mistakes. But I am so grateful just for different mentors in my life and see the value in that, and hopefully get to pass that along as well. The things that I've gotten to walk through, to just share that, the good, bad, and the ugly, like just be open.
Right.
Whether it's my staff or young dancers, to get to learn from my mistakes, and also the things that I've also gotten to do well,
Yeah, for sure. That's so good. Love the wisdom that we gain from mentors. And and it's really rewarding to see, like you were saying, kind of that, like people that are instilling courage, like you can do this, it's okay. You can make a decision.
Yes.
Even though it's hard sometimes, especially for us people pleasers or people that like to please
I know.
other people. But
right.
It's good. But having the backing is super helpful for sure.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so thankful for that.
For sure. And you mentioned towards the beginning that you've been kind of getting back into dancing yourself in this season. Yes. So I'd love to hear more about that and kind of what you're doing. You said you were working with Mako and have your own company. Yeah. So what is that looking like right now?
It is so sweet. I love getting to dance again. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but when I laid down dancing with Ad Deum, I didn't know if I would have the opportunity to get to dance in that way again.
Yeah.
And there was a period of time I felt like I kind of had to mourn that and really release that to the Lord and kind of come to peace with it. But I love God, like He knows the desires of our hearts, and He loves to give us those desires no matter how old we are. And so, I'm 32 now and I have 3 kids. And so the Lord started bringing it back into my life after we took over the studio, and through Talitha, which I got to do for short periods of time throughout the year for a project. And then when Maggie moved to College Station and started Mako, which I love, and just love the vision and just how it touches lives through movement. She's amazing and so called to do what she does. And when she just approached me and said, "Hey, I'm starting this company and would you love to join?" And I just at first was like, "Oh my goodness, like, can I even do this anymore?" Like it's been so long. But it has been just the sweetest blessing. And I'm grateful that I get to do it while still running a business and having my family and kids. And I remember even a sweet mentor in my life, just sharing with me, "Hey, Bethany, it's important for you to still go for your dreams and for your kids to see you do things also for yourself." And that was very freeing. And it was something I held on to because I didn't know if I could do it while having kids. And I knew it would need to look different for sure. I'm not dancing as much as I used to back in my Ad Deum days. But to get to do it like once a week is just so amazing and so rewarding. And I think it's even sweet for my kids to get to see like, hey, mama is still going for things and going for her dreams and keeping up with that gift and pouring into that and making time for it.
Yeah, I think that's super valuable and something that you're right. I think a lot of people probably feel guilty for doing or kind of restricted or something. So I think that's really a good word of wisdom for sure. And just freedom, that's okay. Yes. And obviously with, like you said, with different, flow and wisdom and all of that. But I think that helps a lot. Yeah. And I'm curious, you mentioned the sort of the season of mourning. And I think that's something that probably all dancers at some point in their life, but a lot of dancers process through kind of at the end of their more performance career, I guess you could say. do you want to just share a little bit about that experience and maybe anything that was helpful for you? Because as people are walking that.
For sure. Yeah. I do think when the Lord calls you out of it, one, it's, I think, important to know that that's the right timing and to really hear that clearly from the Lord and even get counsel in that, because it is, I think, that performing window and the way that I did it with Ad Deum, a lot of times that's done when you're younger, and it's a short window of time in your dance career that you can dance at that capacity and, at that level. And so it was hard because I had trained and worked so hard and poured everything into it for 5 years. And then the Lord just made it very clear. And so I think it was important for me to, one, know it was the Lord and his timing, and just to be honest with God. I think that helped me, like, to cry about it and to recognize, like, okay, I'm laying this down, and Lord, like, do with it whatever you want to do. And I love that he's brought it back around for me. It's been really sweet to get to do it, even, just a little bit again. It just feels that part of my artist soul, getting to perform and to use that talent in that way. But yeah, I think just really taking time to process with the Lord. And I think also still having an outlet is helpful. So even though I knew, like, okay, I'm not performing, it was like, okay, Lord, show me my calling in this season, how I can use that gift for your glory and how you want me to pour it out. And whether that is just in, my prayer closet, dancing before you, God, which honestly, like, that's the most important, right? It's first for the Lord. And so there might be seasons where God calls you to use it just for him, in that way. But then also, I do think that he's given that gift and talent for a reason. And so I think even just asking him what it looks like in this season and dreaming with him about what that can look like is helpful, and was helpful for me to know I would still be using that gift, just in a different way in that season.
That's super helpful. Thanks for sharing. Yes,
for sure.
Add-on question there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of flows pretty well into, do you have a word of encouragement that you want to share with other artists right now? Anything on your heart?
Yes. So I was just thinking about it and just asking the Lord. And first of all, I just felt led to encourage those that are maybe making decisions, big decisions with their life, and trying to figure out what God has for them. I had to think of the verse in Proverbs 16, verse 9, in the NLT version. It says, "We can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps." And so I just wanted to encourage those listening that, the Lord really is in control, and he has really good things for you, and that we can trust him. And when he maybe shuts a door that is devastating, that the Lord, if he shuts a door, it means he has something else for you, and he'll open that other door and make it clear. But yes, just that, he's the one ultimately over it all. And there is so much rest we can find in surrendering to the Lord and trusting him. And it's not always easy, especially for a control freak like me. I'm like, I really want to have my 5-year plan and I want to do all these things. And but as we surrender to him, he blesses that, and he makes the path clear, and he ties it all together. Like, I look back even on my own story, and so far, and I'm like, wow, the Lord had me go down all these different paths, it seems like. And at the time, I didn't really understand how it all connected. But now looking back, I can see, it was the Lord just leading and guiding me every step of the way. And I can see that, through my journey, that it's connected. And I also love, I had to think also just for us that are those of us that are maybe overachievers and tend to strive and want to like make things happen,
Right.
and I feel like as dancers, like we're go-getters, like we have these goals and we're going to work and give it our all. And that's great. But I had to think back to a time when I was in class actually with Randy. He's amazing and so many great quotes and stories.
Yes.
But I remember him telling us to make a fist with our hands. And so all of us like made a really tight fist, and just we're like squeezing and, as tight as we could. We're like, okay, I'm going to make a fist. And he was like, okay, so you just made a fist and all of y'all are like, have this like death grip, like in the center. And he goes, now I want you to relax your hand and still make a fist. And he was like, look, it actually makes the same shape. And for me, it was so eye-opening as a dancer to realize that I could let go and find the flow in my movement, that it would be more enjoyable, but also not only as a dancer, I think also as a person. It's like so many times we can just be striving in our own strength to make something happen or to, and, hear me, I'm not saying we shouldn't try or give our best. Like I truly believe in like giving our all for the Lord. But I do think there is this place of, just letting go in some ways and letting God move through us. And I think even for me in this last year, I found myself striving during even this pandemic to make things happen and it's like, okay, like I just have to keep pushing. And I didn't want to give up, but I did feel like the Lord at one point was like, Bethany, you just need to surrender to me and really seek me and ask me to empower you to do the things that I've put before you. Because if I've put it before you, I'm going to help you. You're not in it alone. And I think for so many of us, even in this last season, it's like, sometimes it can be really lonely, even as leaders it can feel like we're really alone. And I just feel like the Lord just, wants to remind us and has reminded me that we're not alone in it and that the best place to be is just like surrendered at his feet and to lay it before him and to let him give us the wisdom and the energy and everything we need because he's God and he loves to give his children good things. So
yeah. So beautiful. I feel like my heart needed that today too. Good. That's definitely going to speak to so many people and I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. So one question I like to ask everyone before you go is, what is one of your favorite things right now?
Oh, one of my favorite things. I think right now I have many favorite things, but I think just being with my family has been so sweet. Like just cherishing that time with my littles. And so, just being with family and getting to know their little personalities.
That's super fun when they're little. Well, probably throughout their whole development, but especially when they're really tiny and they're growing and it's like they're starting to express themselves more. And then you kind of get to see more and more of their personality kind of come to life. So that's super fun. And it sounds like Jocelyn is just kind of at that age of like exploration and
oh yes, she's getting into everything. But it's so fun having a girl because I have two boys and now with her as a little girl, like she's dancing now and she like does her little like plies and waves her arms in the air and when worship music comes on. And so I love that. It's so fun. But yes, she is into everything.
Yes. That's so awesome. And I can't believe how grown they are, like from the last time I saw them. So that's super sweet. Oh, I love it.
It goes by so fast.
Yeah, it seriously does. But this has been awesome and just so refreshing to get to hang out with you and hear more from your heart. And I would love to let people know how they can connect with you in the studio. And if they happen to be in College Station or Bryan area, like to come check it out. So
yes, thank you. Yeah, so they are welcome to head to my website, www.suzannesdancestudio.com. My email and all the information's on there, our address. But yes, I would love to meet those that have listened and connect and just love this dance family and so grateful for it. And so thankful for you, Rachel, and
Oh, thank you.
creating this space for people to share and for those of us also to get to listen and just soak up from other artists and to learn from them. And so thank you for creating this space. I really am
Yeah.
so blessed.
I'm so glad to be able to do it. And just like, it's really fun connecting with people and like the mentorship aspect, getting to hear from all these different people and learn, it's been really, really special. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show.
Yes, thank you. It's so good to see you. I love you, Rachel.
I told Bethany this in our conversation, but my heart was seriously refreshed by our time together, and I hope that you were refreshed as well. You can find all the links, the full show notes, and additional resources on our website, creativeimpactpodcast.com. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'd love to have you join our Patreon community. Patreon's a great place where you get extra content while supporting the show and helping it continue to grow. Check out the bonus content available already at creativeimpactpodcast.com/Patreon. That's creativeimpactpodcast.com/Patreon. Next week, we'll be celebrating 50 episodes, which is so crazy, but so awesome at the same time. So definitely join us for a really fun conversation with Chris Hurt. Chris has been a student pastor for over 25 years, and he also has been involved in a sketch comedy duo known as Hurt and Manly. Chris believes that humor allows the heart to be softened so that truth may enter. You're going to love the fun conversation and great stories that Chris has to share. Not only are we going to be celebrating 50 episodes, we're also getting really close to the 1-year birthday of the podcast. So we have some great guests in store, and I can't wait to share more with you guys in the coming weeks about how we're going to celebrate that 1-year mark. Thank you so much for listening to the Creative Impact Podcast. If you haven't already, I'd invite you to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen. The music for the show is produced by Michael Cash. Share the show with a friend, check out our Patreon community, and I'll see you next week for my conversation with Chris Hurt.